Welcome back to the Players' Championship of the Dutch Open Series. We're very close to the end. We're actually at the draft, sort of. We're with two players who just drew to get into top 8. Eric Moyer and Bart van Etten. You might know both of them. They've been on camera here and there for quite often. I want to see what their experience was. So this was a multi-format tournament. You played Legacy. You played only played 2 rounds of Legacy, I guess. You played. Yeah, only one even. Modern and Standard. So, Bart, what's your experience with this format, and do you think you have an advantage as a better player as opposed to the other players?
I think I have an advantage actually because I play a lot of all the formats. I played a lot of Legacy for 2 years, so I know all the formats good and I know all the decks. So I think I had an advantage. I played a lot, especially Modern and Standard, of course, because it's for the Pro Tours, and Legacy I did it back in the day. So yeah, I was pretty confident going in.
Did you experience anything today that you thought really came down to experience in one of the formats, that you really outplayed somebody because it was a certain format?
No, I don't think so. The first round of Legacy, I just played against all-in deck, and he bricked twice. So, and in Modern, I think I played against good players, and in Standard as well. So I don't think I really outplayed anyone.
Thank you. But what about you, Eric? You said you were primarily a limited player. But you powered through all the constructed rounds pretty forcefully, actually. What's your experience with the multi-format so far?
So this is my first tournament that's multi-format. So Bart has played the Pro Tours, which are standard and limited, but I've never done that. So this is the first time I've done it, and I really enjoyed it. So I played a mono-red mirror match in Standard, and I had an opponent that was reading my cards, even though they were in his deck too. So that was kind of funny. I think an advantage because I actually play Standard and Modern and Legacy. So I think that was a way I could leverage my skill and experience with those.
So it's basically, it does come down to a skill thing in the end, and you both are quite skilled players, obviously. Do you feel that it's a fair field in this way? Because obviously, some players only came here because they won a Seal tournament or a Legacy tournament. Do you feel there's a big difference in player level, or is it just people are very much specialists?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are specialists. For example, especially see that with the Legacy players, they only play Legacy, so it's really hard for them to get through Standard and Modern. So of course, Modern is easier for them to pick up because they can just play a similar deck. But in Standard, it's really hard for them because you need to know all the cards, all the interactions. So I think it's harder for the specialists. Yeah, okay. It's way better for you if you're all around than just a specialist in this format.
Do you agree with Bart?
Yeah, well, I think all the players here I've seen them at a lot of tournaments, and they are often in the top 8 or at the top tables. So even if they aren't as experienced, they still are good players and can win games and matches. So
it's still hard. If you top 8 every Legacy, and now you need to play Standard or Modern. If you don't have a similar deck, it's really hard. You need to invest a lot of time. So
yeah, there was actually a player, Mark Hoogstraat, who actually only heard that he could play less than 24 hours ago. So and also who is a player that does not play Legacy. So for players like that, it's obviously hard. But
Terrence, he's telling me that he's a Modern specialist. He went 1 and 2 in Modern. He's never played Standard before. He went 3 and 0 in Standard. Yeah. So you can still win matches and games by being a good player that can pick up deck. So
it also depends on the format. I think in this format, if you play teamer and you're lucky, you can also trio. So.
You can basically say that these 36 players all can play Magic.
Yeah, for sure. Otherwise, you're not here.
Yeah, exactly. You're not going to be here. So moving on to the top 8, it's going to be Iconic Masters, which was a little bit controversial as a pick for a tournament format, especially this particular top 8. Yeah. Do you feel that it's a format that you can leverage your skill, like other Modern Masters sets or things like that?
I never played it before, so I just watched the spoiler after making top 8.
You didn't play it at all?
No, I didn't even knew which cards were in it, so I just watched it an hour ago. After we drew, we watched the spoiler.
So you're wasting your time talking with me? You should be preparing?
Oh, it's fine. I think it's the same with Modern Masters. You just have the synergies, and it's the same format. You just need to know which cards are there, but the rest is
Eric, have you played the Modern Iconic Master at all?
No, I haven't played Iconic Masters, but like I said, I'm comfortable with drafting, so hopefully some of that carries over into this, but it's different cards, different synergies, different things like that. But I watched a couple of videos, and we were looking at the spoiler just previous to this to make sure I know what combat tricks to play around and things like that, and counter spells are out there. So
you feel like a solid, how do you call it, a disciplined draft will get you through it?
Yeah, I mean, if it was like history of draft, I think I would be very favored. But since it's a format I've never played, then I don't think I'm favored as much.
Okay, I have one kind of final question for the both of you. I'll start with Eric. I'm not sure if you know who's left, but who do you feel is going to be are going to be the most dangerous players left in the tournament for you in the top 8?
That's a good question. I haven't talked to anybody that are at the top tables that have played the Iconic Masters draft before. But Bart's a great player, and Jelko is obviously a great player. He's my only loss in the tournament, so I'm.
Well, he did well at a Pro Tour recently as well.
It was standard.
But I think everybody can win a tournament, and especially draft, where it really depends on what you open, what people are passing to you. So like if I'm the best, let's say I have the best Iconic Masters player, but the person on my right has never played it before and doesn't know how to evaluate the cards in the set, then maybe they could tank my draft at the same time. So you never really know.
That's something with newer drafters relatively. It happens at local store level where you actually get tanked by your neighbor who just has no idea what they're doing. So that is a real danger here, because multiple players possibly have no idea what they're doing.
Especially like if you open a bomb rare, for example in this set you have like a lot of bomb rares and people just stick to it. So the problem is they open a bomb rare, you're white as well, and the white is not open, they still cut it.
Yeah, they force a color they shouldn't be in.
Other draft formats, but especially in this one, they open like an insane rare, just keep on slamming like white cards, and you get wrecked as well.
Is it maybe also a matter of people misevaluating a rare that they think is very good, but because it's such a high power level set that all rares would be good in a different set? What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, I think people who play Constructed might be biased about, this card is great in Modern, or this card is great in Legacy, where maybe it's not so great in Limited, so that might bias people towards picking things that they shouldn't be picking. But there are some consistencies, like Swords to Plowshare is a great card. You should always pick it if you're early in the pack. So like things like that, where you can still use some of your constructed knowledge to inform your draft.
So the card itself is obviously something that so you can actually.
But like Gristlebrand, you probably shouldn't be taking Gristlebrand. I don't even know if it's in the set.
Probably no, it's not in the set.
Okay, well then I won't be drafting.
Well, that's interesting.
Also, it's really hard in this set because like you don't know which card is the best one. Normally, like in a normal draft format, like this is the best rare or this is the best card. Now you have like so many good cards, like which is better, and it really depends on which archetype is the best. And we didn't do any draft, so for us it's hard to. So hopefully we just open like bomb rares, slam them, and then you get all the white cards or the black cards.
Yeah, like I said, my player profile, I usually try to force blue-red spells. So I heard that's a pretty good archetype in this set. So maybe I'll be trying.
Just helped him, right?
Maybe I'll try and lean on that strategy for a bit. So.
The final question for you: do you feel there's any? The players a little bit better than Eric does. Is there anybody left? Do you feel Leon, for instance,
Mitchell Manders for sure. Like he loves cube, so he knows like he loves the Modern Masters cube as well. And if he makes top 8, I think he's one of the big contenders to win it.
Yeah, Mitchell Manders, he recently top 8 at a limited GP, and from what I hear, has played about 700 Iconic Masters drafts online.
He's like always drafting these formats, so I think he's pretty good in that format.
So he's the one technically that you would want out the most.
He's the best drafter of all people here, that format.
So that's the one to watch. Okay,
Leon, I think Leon is a great player, but I don't think he played any drafts from this format as well, like maybe one. So he's in the same position as we are.
Well, thank you, Eric. Thank you, Bart, for this interview. We're going to see what's going to happen in the Iconic Masters draft in the top 8. Thank you. Thanks.